BP spill bad, EPA spill not so bad. This is what the president had to say about BP's Gulf oil spill back in 2010.
Yeah, when I woke up this morning and I'm shaving and Malia knocks on my bathroom door and she peeks in her head and she says, did you plug the hole yet, Daddy? You know, when we are fouling the earth like this, it has concrete implications not just for this generation but for future generations.
And fast forward today, and no blasting of the EPA over its massive toxic spill out west, even though it's contaminating waterways in 3 states and the Navajo Nation. In fact, the administration telling the nation that everything's pretty much back to normal, which has locals furious. Steve, just imagine if a private company was responsible for this.
Well, this is the rankest hypocrisy. This is a political pollution. If a private company had done it, the executives would have been fired. There would have been numerous stories about it. The EPA does this. Oh, we made a mistake. They wait 24 hours before notifying affected parties about this terrible spill. And if a private company had done that, we'd never hear the end of it. Instead, they're going to get away with it, and the head of that agency won't get fired the way the head of BP did.
And Nomi, these are real poisons. This isn't like a dispute over whether carbon dioxide, the stuff we exhale, is poison. We're talking arsenic and mercury here.
Yeah, I think that everybody is frustrated by this situation, and even, the Administrator McCarthy came out and said she apologizes for not acting quickly enough, and that is, the pressure is on the EPA now. But to be fair here, comparing this spill from a gold mine that hasn't been in existence since the 1920s to the BP spill, it's a much smaller spill. I mean, the BP spill was, every single court found BP in violation. I don't think that any court is going to call the EPA in violation.
Well, we'll talk about the legal issues because the courts might be more afraid of the EPA than they are of a private company. But look at this mess. And we talk about the EPA chief, Gina McCarthy. Yes, she took some responsibility for it, but EMAC, she also said everything's pretty much okay now. Take a listen.
Okay. There was a statement released from the Unified Command Center yesterday. It indicated that the Animas River up in La Plata County, that in those areas our water has actually returned back to pre-incident conditions. So it is a significant step forward.
So she says it's normal. Do you believe her?
No, I'd like to see her put a crazy straw in a glass of that water and see her drink it. And I'd also like to see President Obama leave the golf course and visit this site. Absolutely like he did with the BP oil spill. 3 million gallons of toxic waste, health issues down the road from this. And I'm going to tell you something. This administration is so big on telling everybody else that they're wrong and they are right. Boy, are they silent on this. And watch this. EPA workers could get immunity from this under federal law, whereas the BP workers, BP itself, got sued multiple times.
Bill, what do you think?
Well, a few years ago, a maintenance guy at a military retirement home flushed out a drain pipe that was clogged with adult diapers. He was charged with a felony. So to keep things in proportion, what I'd like to see is a new penitentiary built to house all of the EPA executives or anybody connected with this.
All right, I'd put a little bit of my tax money in for that. But Mike, it's just the hypocrisy of this. You know, you have the private companies getting really sued to the hilt, and the EPA and the IRS, for that matter, get away with it all.
Right, and we have to ask ourselves why the hypocrisy, David. And the reason is, as you point out, he's not going to say anything bad about the IRS or Lois Lerner going after Obama's political foes, and he's not going to do anything with the EPA because why? They both support his tyrannical regime. They're his political muscle to fight his enemies.
Well, Sabrina, there's some people that are not going to sit back in this. The folks who have to live with this dirty war right now are furious. The Navajo Nation, they've said they're going to sue. 3 states, Colorado, New Mexico, Utah, are thinking about suing. The problem is, if they do, the EPA has so many lawyers at their disposal, they can hang this thing up in court for years before anybody gets paid anything.
No, I'm sure it would be extremely difficult. And the problem here, David, is that this is symptomatic of this attitude. The government can do no wrong. But where are the environmental alarmists right now? Right. I think EMAC mentioned 3 million gallons, arsenic levels that are 300 times that of normal levels, lead levels that are 3,500 times higher. I mean, this is really serious pollution. We hear alarmists screaming about chemicals, about food, about energy and fracking all the time. The government makes a major mistake and we hear zilch.
And EMAC, it's the idea that they're above the law, again, with the IRS, we heard that they're above the law. You're guilty until proven innocent with the IRS. And the EPA, you're innocent no matter what.
Yeah, that's right. It's such a double standard. Maybe if they stop watching porn on their computers, they can stuff like this. And by the way, here's the double standard. They did foot dragging just like they accused BP of doing. They lowballed the estimates of the size of the spill, and it came out to be triple the size of what originally they said it was.
Last word from email.